Okay, so next move to the second keynote. The second keynote speaker is Pierre Levy. It's my Kansei friend. Yes. So I take out my tithe. Currently, he is the assistant professor in design, quality in interaction group at Andorran University of Technology. Levy was the co-organizer of KER 2010 in Paris. He gained his PhD of Kansei Science at the University of Tsukuba, Japan. In this keynote, Levy will introduce an historical approach of Kansei. And ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Professor Pierre Levy.
Thank you very much. First of all, also, I would like to thank very much all the team of NCKU for their fantastic work during the organization of. I indeed co-organized the 2010, and I know how much work it is, and I'm very, very thankful for all the work that has been done for the organization of this very nice conference here. Before I start my speech, I would like just to have a minute thinking time for Kees Overbeek, who passed away last year. He did a keynote in 2010 in Kier, and I know that everybody who met him always has been very inspired, very impressed by by this person and by all what he had to teach us in design. I had the chance to work with him, and I had the chance him to help me to become my sincere self, and I owe him a lot on that. And well, that's a big loss we have, and I hope we can share and keep his memory as much as possible in this community as well. Sorry. I would like to start my speech. So I would like to actually what I'm gonna present today comes from many years, because with Professor Yamanaka, as I was students in his university, in his lab, we had so many talks about so many topics related to Kansei, and I came to have quite of a lot of questions about what Kansei is about, and I drove this reflection about what Kansei engineering is about, what Kansei is about, what actually are we doing in our community of Kansei. And this keynote actually took shape in Delft University of Technology when Professor Ko Chen was visiting there. And he told me, okay, I'll challenge you and please do a keynote on this topic and help us to dig in what we actually are doing in this community. So that's my challenge, and I will try to take it. But before actually getting into the words explanations, I would like to show you a video. I'm sorry for the one who saw it 2 days ago, but it's so beautiful that I think it's worth always to see it at least twice, or for myself, maybe 100 times. That is a project, a prototype made by some of our master students on a workshop called Central Dynamics, and it's a very easy. I mean, I would say very easy. They made something absolutely beautiful. It's very simple. And the beauty is in this simpleness. The beauty of the movements, the beauty of the way the material is used. And in Eindhoven University of Technology, we are developing mostly interaction. We are designing for interaction project systems and services. And on one side of these little things, you can caress it. I just make a pause. I would like you to imagine, you know, when you caress an animal, the animal takes a shape. And it's not because the shape is better to be caressed. It's because the shape the animal takes will bring the senses of this animal in such a way that the experience will be longer and the experience will be even more beautiful. So it's not a body shape, It's the dynamics of the senses. It's how the senses of this animal moves. And it's exactly what they have been reproduced here as a prototype. And you can see very much when you caress the thing, look, you see the thing desire to keep on this caress as longer as possible. It's absolutely beautiful. I really like this. And on the other side, it's tickling. So also the sensors in this case move away because the experience should be as shortened as possible. I will come back to that actually at the end because that's exactly what I would like to speak at the end, which is about Kansei design. But I'll start by the beginning, and the beginning is called Kansei Engineering and Emotion Research. So often when we go to conferences, or different than here, we always get this question of what is Kansei engineering? What are you actually doing there? There are so many things. It looks so much interesting, but where can I find clear explanation of what is there? I'm in Kia now, and I think that most of you actually know more than me about Kansei engineering because you have skills, you have practice, and I don't have so much. I will just take one sentence, one extract. This is part of a report that has been written while they were doing the Mazda MX-5 or the Miata, which is to be known one of the first products designed by Kansei Engineering. And it really says that the sports cars must have a degree of performance, but more importantly, they must be fun to drive. What is important is that it feels faster than it is, but it doesn't have to be fast in absolute terms. What is important here is the perception, the experience we have of the car, more than the objective qualities of the car. But engineering deals with this objectivity and needs to deal with that. So what Kansei engineering is trying to do is trying to link these both things. I'm not going to develop much about Kansei engineering because I guess that most of you know. For the one who don't know and want to read some literature, there are a lot of very interesting literature. For me, the most inspiring ones are the three, from Professor Nagamachi, from Professor Schutter, and from Professor Lockman, because they are very clear in the approach they take in what Kansei engineering is about. And Kansei engineering has a very structured approach. The tools evolve, but the structure globally remains the same. And the discussion actually I had with Yamanaka Sensei on this, with Professor Yamanaka on this during these years, is that in his laboratory we are not really doing that. And yet we go to a Kansei engineering conference. We're doing something that is called Kansei science. And that is really well explained by Professor Harada in a few works. And if you look in other domains, I took the example of Professor Takeda in, I think, Kyoto University, who has a sociological approach on Kansei. This is not Kansei engineering. This is something else. And that's my starting point. We are not only doing Kansei engineering in this community. There are many, many things different. And I would like to invite you, and I'm going to do it for myself now, to kind of figure out what you are doing, what's the commons with the others, what the difference is, because commons links us to each other, and the differences will nourish each other by sharing these differences, by what we do so superbly in this conference, by talking to each other and exchange experience, and hopefully at some point skills. So as this reflection went on, I thought myself, well, Kansei engineering, if Kansei engineering starts with Professor Nagamachi, what was before? Something happened before, probably. Or did he invent these words, which I don't think so. And I have a little bit of background in Japanese. It did exist before, so I went through the literature. And the first document I know, maybe there are others, maybe actually in the Chinese literature at some point, maybe the words come from China and have been to Japan. I'm not sure, but that might be a possibility. The oldest document I know was actually shown to me by Nakasawa Sensei, which is a piece of the 17th century. So it's in the early modern time of Japan. Kansei is somewhere there, here and here. And that's the oldest document I know that uses the term Kansei. The thing in this document is that it doesn't have, it's a piece of literature and there's no reflection around these words. I'll put it in a simple way, there is no academic reflection around the term Kansei. To wait for the term Kansei to come in the academic world, we have to wait actually a few decades, if not centuries. Will come with this group of persons, and actually the one I'm will speak about is the one at the left, who is called Nishi Amane, who is an intellectual, a Japanese intellectual, and this group went to the Netherlands. He went to Leiden University to actually study about politics and laws. And in all his notes, he's mostly work on psychology and philosophy. And on his early work in Leiden University, he worked on the aesthetic from Alexander Baumgarten. And already you can see in there that he already he's trying to translate terms into Japanese. But sometimes the terms in Japanese do not exist, so he has to create them. In these notes, the term Kansei doesn't appear. I went through all these. But it comes a bit later. It comes in this book that he wrote. He's actually also, it's the title of the book is Shinrigaku, it's psychology. He's the one who created the term psychology. He's the one who created the term tetsugaku, chukan, kyakan, subjectivity, objectivity. Philosophy was tetsugaku. And he also coined the term Kansei. And that's where it happens. I don't know if you see, but Kansei is here. Little there in katakana, it's written sensibility. And he explained in this book Kansei to be the faculty of feeling, the ability we have to feel. That's the first definition of Kansei. Okay, but that's quite ancient. After Nishiyamane, there was in Japan a lot of intellectuals, and the one I would like to speak about is Nishida Kitaro, who is the creator of the School of Kyoto, which is the first and probably dominant school of philosophy. Philosophy in the Western term of philosophy. Okay, there were already reflection, of course, in Japan for thousands of years, but really in the philosophy in the Western term, he is probably the first one, or one of the first one. He is one of the main philosopher. And his philosophy is inspired by Buddhism. He was doing Zen meditation quite a lot, at least during a time of his life, and by phenomenology from Husserl. He actually read a lot from him. He sent his disciples to Freiburg, where Husserl was. So there's a strong and actual contact between Husserl and Nishida Kitaro. And from within this philosophy, there are three concepts, three ideas that to me are very inspiring for Kansei. It's acting intuition. I'm not gonna make it today. Koiteki chokan, basho, which is the lieu, the place, the way the world appears to us, the way we are in the world, and the pure experience, Junsui Keiken, which is the immediate time of experience before the object and the subject separate from each other through philosophical judgments. He didn't use, as far as I know, he didn't use the term Kansei actually, but his reflection, his philosophy is very influential. Influencing first Japanese culture, Japanese reflection, Japanese academia, and secondly, the terms he has there are so much related to what we are trying to do, what we are focusing on, that he's somebody we should read, somebody we should learn from, if we want to try to understand what Kansei is about. I'm gonna do an express now through history. So in the 17th, there was the first document I showed you, which coined where the term Kansei appeared. Then in the 19th century, Yamane Nishi proposed the term Kansei from a psychological approach. Then actually the term of Kansei appeared in philosophy by another philosopher, also extremely important for all the educational system of Japan, Amano Teiyu. He was translating the Critics of the Pure Reason from Immanuel Kant, and he translated, I'm sorry for the German person in the room, Sinnlichkeit into thank you, into Kansei. Okay. Now we could ask, well, what is Sinnlichkeit? So actually I asked Simon Schutter, he said, oh, that's something really, really difficult. Maybe only German might understand what it is. Like sometimes Japanese say, well, only maybe Kansei, only Japanese might understand. So if you ask me what Sinnlichkeit is, I will answer, well, Sinnlichkeit it's like Kansei, okay? That doesn't help maybe, but I don't know yet exactly what it is about, but that's a fairly wise answer, I believe. Then there is the time of the war, and Japan gets out of the war fairly poor, and there is this incredible development of the economy. That's, I mean, in a few decades happened something that in Europe happened in many, many decades. And in around 83, there is Fujioka Wakao, who is the president of Dentsu, an important company of advertisement and marketing, who wrote a book that is called Goodbye Mass Consumption, Hello, I don't know, it's not hello, but Good Day Kansei Consumption. What he explained is that the Japanese market shift from the mass consumption, where everybody will consume approximately the same, what is proposed on the market, to a consumption based on feeling, on what is liked, what is appreciated, and that the companies in Japan needs to evaluate toward this kind of consumption. And the qualification he used for this type of consumption is Kansei. Okay? And at the same time, actually parallel, I have no idea how much, I couldn't figure out how much relation they might have. Professor Nagamachi developed an engineering method to correlate human impressions with design details, and he eventually called it Kansei engineering. And also, somehow parallel, came a bit later the works from Professor Harada, who was trying to understand the image in the brain of designers. So he took a cognitivist approach and developed a Kansei science. And that's what I've been studying within the laboratory of Professor Yamanaka. And this laboratory was actually the laboratory of Professor Harada before. And in Paris already, but very much in this conference, there are more and more research, more and more works. I can just give the example of Toyota because that was very, of Alexandre, because that was very a bright example of Kansei design, where we have to deal a bit with subjectivity as well. So it's not really engineering, it's something else. So Kansei design is coming, and that's what I propose, what I'm focusing on to try to develop. There will be different approaches, and they will hopefully enrich each other. They will hopefully, we're gonna discuss about what it is. I'm personally interested in making things, of how can we make things, because I would like to make the world a more beautiful place, and to make the world a more beautiful place, we have to put beautiful things in this world. So the making for me is what I'm interested, what I want to focus on. And so far, as much as I know, there is Kansei Engineering, Kansei Science, and Kansei Design who are working toward this direction on a fairly direct way. So I will focus on these three. Actually, I will focus on the two last because I already spoke about Kansei Engineering. So Kansei Science. Kansei Science, it's an approach built on brain science, mostly neuroscience and psychophysiology. It's really much a science. It's not an approximate science. It's a science based on medical things. And I can tell you that the professor from the hospital of University of Tsukuba are really clear with that. The aim of Kansei science is to characterize and to evaluate emotional experience and creativity, and to contribute to a better understanding of the mind, based on physiological and psychological approaches. That's why psychophysiology is very much important. Actually, Kansei science, because of the lab of Professor Yamanaka, is also trying to use this knowledge, use this understanding towards the making of things. So it's already trying to apply the knowledge created by this science to the making of things. This text is maybe a bit outdated now. I guess many PhDs and many work has been done where this has progressed. But basically, what we have been trying to do is to use the tools and the knowledge from psychophysiology, so the tools being electroencephalography, EEG, ERP, fMRI, and so, eye tracking system, and so on and so forth, to support designers' inspiration, the knowledge also to support inspirational source, and also later in the design process to support the achievement of the completion of design requirements. I'm not going to give you examples here, but I'll do better. This is a little book written by Bianca Beutel, who was in the laboratory of Professor Yamanaka also for a year and something, and she wrote a little book about what's going on around this field. It's easy to read. It's a very nice book. I think she's making a new version now, but so hopefully next year there will be a new version. The book is free. I think you can ask either Professor Yamanaka or myself, and we'll give you the way to access it. It's an invitation, and I'm sure you will be pleased to have received this invitation after you read. And the last one will take a little bit time. This is my challenge, is Kansei design. There are different approaches in Kansei design, and I will introduce the one I'm trying to work on, I'm trying to develop. Okay, but you have heard, I'm sure, during the conference, a few different approaches, and I think because it's a really early time of Kansei design, all these approaches worth to be explored, worth to be developed further, and worth to be discussed within this community. My approach in design in general, even if it's not Kansei design, is to try to get inspired from the ideas developed by philosophy. Because many philosophers develop ideas that are so practical, so beautiful, so usable to make beautiful things in design that it will be really sad not to use them. In the laboratory of designing quality and interaction in the University of Technology of Eindhoven, we are mostly using the ecological psychology from Gibson and the phenomenology of perception from Merleau-Ponty. But I'm sure there are many other philosophies that would be worth to be explored, understood, and used as an inspiration means for design. In the case of Kansei design, I currently explore Nishida's Kitaro philosophy. So the main, or the first and probably the main philosophy in Japan. There's a secret reason also why I'm using this philosophy is because he's very much inspired to phenomenology, by phenomenology and Buddhism, that to me it speaks a lot because I've been studying quite some on phenomenology, so I find a lot of common points with the phenomenology of perception of Merleau-Ponty. So I can get further and develop faster this approach of concept design. These are extremely important, but I think for design it should be taken as a global understanding. There's a primacy of action. So the sentence that is just under the title is actually a quote from Nishida Kitaro. We see a thing by action, and the thing we see determines us as much as we determine the thing. That is action intuition. Koiteki chokan, action intuition. What it says, Merleau-Ponty called that active, that says that perception is active. That to perceive, we are not perceived in the world. We are in the world and we act on it. Or we possibly act on it. That's what makes us interacting with things. And the second part, the things we see determines us as much as we determine the thing, is that when I interact with something, I will act on it and this thing will act on me. And by this loop, through this loop, the meaning of the thing, but also the meaning of myself in this context, arise. That's a fundamental difference with classic cognitivist approach where perception is in the brain. What it says here is that perception is an interaction. It's between me and the world. Okay? And for this perception to happen and for the meaning, for the beauty to emerge, for the beauty of life, for the beauty of the object, for the beauty of myself to emerge, hopefully have a bit of beautifulness in me. This happened through actions, and this happened in front of me as I experienced the world. The second one is that there is a primacy of the body. This perception doesn't happen without me, without my body. It's actually my body that interacts with the world. It's not my brain, it's my body, my entire body that interact with the world. So before the thinking, there's a primacy of the perception, and there's a primacy of the body. I don't know, for the one who know Merleau-Ponty, it's fully Merleau-Ponty. I think they will have been really good friends. Just as the body of an artist is the organ of art, and that I guess you would all agree, so is the body of a scholar, the organ of scholarship. The life of an artist exists in beauty, and that of the scholar in truth. Even the activity of thinking does not exist separately from our physical body. That tells everything. And this is very nice, I mean, it's very practical for design. Because we are making physical things, we are making things outside of me, and through my body, through our body, we are interacting with the world. So we cannot design without thinking about the body, without thinking about the senses, without thinking about the motivity, without thinking about the interaction that creates, that from where beauty or meaning is constituted. And what I propose is that concept designers should explore concepts through action and making and reflect upon it. Because there's this primacy of the body, the understanding of the beauty in the interaction cannot be done without my body. So I need to make something, experience it, right? And then reflect on it. Of course we need to reflect on it. It's not about making to make. It's to make things to be able to reflect and to progress in our understanding and to progress in our skills and to make even better after. So that is the approach I have. I developed a class for bachelor students in Eindhoven, and we are also working with master. But actually, I forgot one slide that I think is very important. Kansei design embraces the stance of design in general, at least in the way we understand it in the designing quality and interaction group. And this fantastic sentence, I'm just going to read it because I cannot tell better than what Case has been said before. It's about people. It's about our beliefs and our dreams, about beauty and society. It is about being in the world. That is what we are about, being in the world. And I'll come back to that a little bit later. So as I said, I would like to show you one of the projects that has been made by some bachelor students. So they are second year students. They made a very nice project. The video is a bit less nice, but I think it's still worth to see it. So during this assignment, I'm asking them to reflect on an existing experience through some collage of movies and to reflect on what they would like to get involved, what they would like to design, what kind of experience they would like to design for through moving collage as well. And then they come with this first part of the video where they say, well, that's what we would like to get. In this video, in this video, the idea was to design the passage between two rooms. It's not the design of the first room, it's not the design of the second room, it's the design of the passage, of the in-between two rooms. And that's, so they need to try. Okay, they express that, then they make things. It can be lo-fi, but they make and they experience and they reflect and they make again and they reflect and they make again. Iteration to kind of grasp first what they would like to do, then grasp what they are about to do, grasp what they're actually doing. And they do what they do best, playing with LEDs and electronic stuff. So it's a range of LEDs. It's an aluminium font actually. So the aluminium font can layer it, and they put it on the frame of the door. They put it on the frame of the door, so the light is projected on the door. Open the door. So depending on how you open the door, energy, tension, the context, the situation, the context, the projection on the door is completely different. And here there is nothing. Here the experience happens, and when the door is completely open or closed again, it disappears. Everything disappears. It's invisible. And it's really the passage. They didn't design one room or the other. They just designed strictly the passage. And I have to say I'm really proud of what they made because it's a really beautiful object. It's fairly simple, but all the beauty is first in the simpleness, in the success of making just this passage, and in all the trial they made. So when you open, to be honest, the first time I opened the door, I closed it, I went out again, I did it 10 or 15 times because it was, wow, it was just there, okay? If you don't believe me, come to Eindhoven. I think you are you are all welcome. Maybe not everybody at the same time, but you are all welcome to try it out because it's a beautiful experience, and I think it was the trip. my last speech, because I've been proposing you to try it for yourself and to share it. So I think if I'm proposing you to do it, I should do it myself, and that is very, very challenging. It's to kind of try to explain what Kansei is about. And that's difficult. I've been speaking about being in the world. We are in the world. I'll put this text, but actually I will tell a bit of another story. It's very related, but it's another story. If you watch a movie on TV and it's very scary, it's extremely scary, you cannot stand the scariness of this movie, you take your remote control and you turn it off. Right? If this scary event happened in your life, you don't have remote control to turn off this. This experience you have is inevitable. It's ineluctable. If I pronounce ineluctable. It does happen, and it has to happen. And because you are in the world, in this world, it does happen to you, and you cannot really escape from it. That's why emotions are useful, because it's a way to actually escape. It's a reaction to this, okay? That is what, for example, design for emotion does. Trying to understand this, create either nice emotions in product, designing products that can elicit such emotions, or figure out how the human being deals with emotions and design around it. But I do believe that Kansei design is a little bit different, because this is not Kansei, this is an emotional experience. Kansei, or the Kansei experience, is the fact that you cannot turn off what's happened in front of you. It's not the event itself, it's the experience that this event is inevitable. It's there, and you live with it, and you cannot escape from it. And that's make it extremely powerful, and you have a strong physiological, emotional, psychological, call it the way you want, reaction to it, and you cannot go away from it. That is what I do believe to be Kansei, and that is really at the primacy of every experience, every perceptive experience we have. And that's why we can go quite well, and some people do emotional study on emotion, some people do study on physiological aspects, because it's even before, it's really how we react, because we cannot turn off what's happening in front of us. We have to live it, because we are in the world. I hope it's clear. I hope I will still have some questions, but my wish actually is that what I presented to you today just give you an idea of what I'm trying to work on, of what I'm pushing, and what I would like actually this community to do is to understand for yourself what you are doing, what's your understanding through what you are doing, what is your understanding of Kansei, to make it strong, to share it with others, because we should nourish each other, we should confront our points of views, because that's where we could become rich together, and that's where we're going to be able to expand further internationally. Because as I will explain this afternoon a bit more, one of the difficulties we have in Europe is that Kansei is not clear. Kansei engineering is now clear, but still, and all what is not Kansei engineering still needs a way much refinements to be able to be, explained to other communities, to people who are intrigued by Kansei, but are still not completely sure they want to get in there, because they don't exactly know what is there. So that's an invitation. Figure out what is your discipline within the field of Kansei research, what is your understanding of Kansei, and I will bet you there is no wrong answer. It's your understanding, it's your point of view on Kansei, and I don't think there is a universal definition of Kansei. There's points of views, descriptions of what Kansei might be about. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Levi. And we still have time for questions. Is there any other question